Hello, Daisy.
Hello, Shira.
I've decided something. I'm going to just
What?
jump right into this. I've decided that for when we start our next season, we need a new intro song.
Yes, we do. That was kind of too elevator-ish music. We got
Yeah,
to
yeah.
pump it up, I think.
We need a theme song. So I would like our listeners, if you're there, hello, hello. I would love for our listeners to and our watchers to maybe recommend a theme song. If someone
Oh,
wants to create a theme song, we need a theme song.
okay. That's a good
I think
idea.
we're ready for the long haul. I'm ready for a theme song. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. Ready for a theme song.
Okay. Well, there's these tools now in Gemini. You can create your own jingles and stuff.
All
So
right, you get on that. You go right ahead. You get right on that one. Oh my gosh, how are you, my friend? How are things going?
I'm doing well. It's
Good,
it's
good.
been a good week. How about yourself?
Same. It's been a really good week.
That's
Are we
awesome.
ready for this one? I think it's
We're
going to be
ready
a
for
great
this one. This
episode.
one's fun. Okay.
All right, well, let's get started. I want to welcome everyone to the Glass House, where we look at business from the inside and the outside to expose the gap between what's embedded and what's actually embodied. I'm Shara Halixer. I am the founder and chief momentum officer of Engage 3P.
And I'm Daisy Watkins, founder of BW Concepts and LumaPath.ai. I always have to say in business today, if AI doesn't see it today, you don't exist.
That never gets old. If you are here today, I say this every single week. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. We are so excited. We get more excited when we see even like who watched it after the fact. So don't think we're not paying attention, all of that. And we really appreciate that you choose to spend an hour-ish with us. We know that you have lots and lots of places that you can be and things you can be doing. And so we really don't take that lightly, whether you're here live or if you're watching us after the fact on any of the places that we exist. So you can watch us here on LinkedIn after the fact. We are also on YouTube. The episodes are on the Engage 3P website, and we are, I keep saying it because I'm excited, on Apple Podcasts. So please rate and review. Put something. We want to try to get that going. Even if you don't listen, just go on and rate and review and give us 5 stars because it's fun and it makes me happy. It's like a little gift. So we also want to make sure that you know that we love trying to make this as conversational as possible. We read your comments. We're going to try to get them up on the screen, share your reactions. If we can make this a conversation and not just a broadcast, or I should say a conversation with you, not just between us, then we love to do that too. And we love to hear what you're thinking about as we talk about these topics, because it's really fun to hear from you guys as well. So thank you very much. So let's get started. This is really exciting. Here is a truth nobody says out loud, although I think we've said it, so that's okay. Almost every AI project is failing, not because the tools are bad, but because the people were never ready. I actually say this all the time. Companies buy the software, announce the transformation, push implementation, and then it stalls because nobody really aligned the leaders. Nobody asked the team and nobody agreed what AI was even supposed to be for. You can buy a tool, you cannot buy a team that is ready to live it. And that is the whole game. And it is exactly what I have watched change, where I have watched change go wrong across the board, not just in AI, but for 25 years. We communicate, we train, we declare victory, we give out mugs and hats, and we have a party and a cake, and we call it done. And it wasn't ever really done. That's the problem.
No, I totally agree, Shira. The technology that you helped build in the past is still there. Think about it, right? Nothing's
Right.
really changed there. But AI came and it felt like people had to change everything, and it isn't. So, and here is that same gap from the outside. A company can announce it is AI forward all day long, right? But the machine does not read the announcement. It reads what the people actually live, right? When a rollout stalls, when your team is quietly improvising in the dark, that's inconsistent. It's consistency that shows up too. So how in the market, so in how the market and how AI describes you. So we are watching two things at once: the transformation of a company trying to manage on the inside, and a version of the company already running on the outside. And the bridge between the bridge that to bridge them in one is the word readiness. You know what I mean? So readiness is being used quite a bit. So how does company get ready? There's a lot of different things that can get ready. It all depends on why they even want to implement something, right? So, which is exactly why I wanted our guest in our room, because she has built her entire life around getting ready before everyone else. This one is mine to bring in. So my guest today has lived 5 lives. Okay, top pharma sales rep, yeah, first mate in the Caribbean, restaurant owner, and estate manager for some of the wealthiest families in the planet, from Dubai to Beirut, running 30,000 square foot properties and teams under enormous pressure. Now she has done it. She's the founder and CEO of Phoenix AI Advisor, which she helps leaders get the people ready to adopt AI before their competitors do. If you ever felt like AI is moving too fast and you are failing behind, this conversation's for you. So I welcome our guest, Katherine Dietrich.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Daisy and Shara, for such a wonderful introduction. I love what you were saying about AI. You know what? AI isn't the hard part. It's knowing where to start. And, I help leaders cut through the noise of the everyday with the social media and everything and pushing and the hype. And I help them get clear with an AI roadmap and where they could bring their teams with them, because you know what? AI doesn't transform companies. The leaders do, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Katherine. I know there's so much that we're talking about. So, we're all in the space of AI. Shira is in change management, and a lot of the things she does, she has her own frameworks and stuff like that. You come in from a different approach as well. And I'm very eager to listen to a couple of your stories about how you've approached people about their readiness in today's AI world. So I think Shira has a couple of things to get started. So
I think it's so interesting, right? Daisy and I were just having a conversation before we started the podcast, and we were talking about, just this topic, getting ready for you being with us, but also in general, just what's happening. The first step in understanding why, and I know what I ask, the questions that I ask, but the first step is, when you walk in and talk to a new client, what's the very first thing that you're going to ask them when you walk in the room, right? What's the beginning of that conversation?
The first thing that I find out first is I need to have clarity. I need to know where their mind is. I need to know what they're thinking and need to see if they're ready to start implementing AI. And, what I have to say that one of the biggest failures that I see is most companies start with, which tool shall I buy? Instead of really realizing what is their biggest problem in their company. So I ask them, so what are you doing now? It's the first meeting is usually questions, because I need to find out where their brain is. I need to find out where the leader's brain is, because she's the one that is guiding the rest of their company. So when they say, oh yeah, which tool shall I buy? I said, well, have you figured out what problem you have in your company first? Are your people even prepared to begin to start the transformation? They're beginning to have that paradigm shift in their brain, because it's a change and a lot of people are afraid of it. So I find that people, they're not resisting AI. They're resisting the confusion. They're resisting the ambiguity of it. People are feeling scared because they don't know if their jobs are being, if they're in jeopardy. If they don't know, especially if they're not allowed to use AI, they're afraid to, oh my gosh, if they're secretly using it. So, the one thing I try to get leaders ready is clarity is one of the number one things that I stress. Clarity. What is your one problem? And ownership. Who's going to own this problem and bring it to fruition? And then the participation. You need to get your staff and your people aligned. Alignment is another big word. And safety, another big one. Safety, you have to have the guardrails. You have to be able to control to safeguard all your data in your company. And of course, the proof, it's not going to be overnight. People are like, okay, we want a tool, we want this to happen this week. No, it doesn't go by that. So it's a lot of education. It's a lot of asking questions, and it's a lot of really finding out where their mind's at.
And that's a great start, right? Because I think that for most people, and this is true not just from an AI perspective, I've been in the change space for for over 25 years, primarily in the HR side of things, right? And so when I would, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I'd walk in and they'd say, we need HR software. And I would say, why do you need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And I think that we talk about this a lot on the show. There's a lot of FOMO going around, right? This is the big shiny toy. This is the thing everybody's talking about. The world economy is sitting on it. And so we're all very nervous about the fact that if we're not in it, that somehow we're going to be left behind. And it's remarkably new, right? It's a bit of a glitch of a nothing of a time that we've been in this now. And I think that everybody's feeling so quickly that they have to be full force. I want to just make a note on something. Everybody's talking in the chat about how there's having some issues with LinkedIn, and they're changing browsers and trying to get in. So it looks like there might be a LinkedIn problem. I'm sorry to say, I don't know what's going on, but we're going to try to check it out and see what's going on. This one's not me. I swear to God, this one's not me.
This is not on you. Yes.
This is not my technical issue.
But the good thing is that it's recorded, right? So people can go back.
You're right. So everyone can go back up. But we want everyone to be here so they can talk to us and tell us what's going on. So we've got some people behind the scenes, and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on the LinkedIn side. So bear with us on that one. Thank you, Microsoft.
Well, there's always that's going on with Microsoft. Always.
Well, they own LinkedIn, so there you go. So I think that is truly, I think, part of the problem, right? On the one hand, AI is so expected in business, right? I like to say that, it's AI has become the thing in business that, years ago, you wouldn't say this. If you go to buy a car, you wouldn't say, does it come with a seatbelt, right?
Right.
And that's what's happening with AI now, right? It's just assumed that it's going to be there and it's going to be present. It's going to be part of something, but to what end and to what value, right? And that's
it's always changing.
it's changing. We've never experienced this level of change. My running joke, this is the third time this week I've said this joke, but my running joke is that back in cave times, the cave thing, the person invented the wheel, walked into the cave and showed the wheel, and everybody screamed, "Oh my God, it's the end of society. It's never going to be, and you've ruined the lives as we know it, right?" So I think human nature is to always go to that place of ending, right? Oh my God, you're going to ruin everything. On the other hand, I think that it is very fair to say that this is something that is revolutionary in a way that we've never known and never expected. And so what you said about guardrails is really important in so many areas, not just in terms of governance of a system in a business, but understanding, why are we doing this? What are we hoping to accomplish? Are we going to get an ROI out of this? I talk about not just return on investment, but return on intention. Right? What is it intended to do? And that can shift, right? And it has to shift because what we need shifts. So looking at that and understanding where's the value in any of this, both for the business and for the humans that are in the business. And I'll get off my soapbox for just a moment.
That's okay. So to Katherine's point is what I guess it's the readiness, right? Are humans ready to adapt to the change? And it all depends on the companies. And so I think when I first started this journey about being an AI consultant, number one is that we were taught to do the discovery. Sorry, I'm freezing here. To do the discovery and then, find out exactly where the gaps are. But we never really put the layer that the human, the business owner or the corporations need to understand that it's the humans being affected by it. So immediately as, people that got excited by AI, we wanted to sell the tools, we wanted to sell the automation. But in reality, as the consultants coming in, we didn't even understand what those tools are and what the tools meant and how we connect those tools. So people went ahead. And so we have to take a step back about their readiness, which is what Katherine's, it's your point, right, Katherine? And similar to how Shira assesses hers at 3 different levels. from a executive's perspective as well as the level that she kind of goes with in her workflows. And same thing with you, Katherine. So do you have something that you use as a readiness tool? Because I know I have a couple of them as a general consultant and as in my marketing in life. So what are those steps that people need to understand if they're ready from your perspective?
Yes. So I have a 12-step readiness wheel that I use, and everybody's on a different level. Not everybody's at the same. So it's answering the question because every company is different and where they're at is different. So it's not like a cookie cutter program that I have. I do what they need, not what I want to give them. So if their problem is in, let's say, shadow AI integration or ethics, trust and governance, or, just human readiness and psychological safety, I have diagnostics assessments for each one of my 12 domains where I go in, I do a diagnostic and I do a presentation to show them what it is. There's a lot of fear going on out there. People really don't know what AI is and what it entails. So depending what their biggest bottleneck is in adapting AI, that's where I sit down with them and say, okay, we're going to do an assessment on leadership evolution. I have resistance diagnostics and refraining. I have all these that I could choose from for their company. Then from there, it's about education. It's about getting the team on board. It's a process. The leader is the one that leads their teams, and if he doesn't have everybody else aligned, it's going to be a problem. So I start with my assessments and asking questions.
Is there something? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is there something in particular that you've seen? Is there a common thread? And it doesn't have to be for everything, but when you've done this work, is there something in particular that you're seeing that is a good way of making people feel, hey, I'm not alone in this, right? I'm not the only one that's going through this. But is there a common thread that you're seeing when it comes to readiness that challenges people?
Yes, I think that there's so much hype out there that the leaders just don't know where to go. Okay, we're going to start with ChatGPT. Now it's Claude. Now it's OpenClaw. Now they don't even know what these are. I've had companies that say, we want OpenClaw. We heard it's the best. And I said, back up. let's back up. That's when I know that I really need to spend time with the leader to really assess what he wants. One of the most expensive mistakes in AI is that they're solving the wrong problem at scale. So they're buying these tools and they're solving a problem at scale, and all the AI implementation that they're doing is useless. And it's costing their companies thousands of dollars because they don't know what their problem is in their company. They've never had an implementation assessment to figure out, this is what you need in your, 7 divisions of your company, in your marketing, customer service, human resources, legal, safety and aware, just all of them. They've never done an assessment. And a company cannot start implementation without an assessment. They need to have somebody come in there to do the roadmap for their company. And that's why they are failing at such a large scale, because they're trying to do it themselves. They have people, there's people, at least in my area, there's a lot of people that are just learning some things on YouTube and going into these major companies. Then they're just implementing right away. And then when I go in, they're like, oh, forget it. We don't want AI. It has totally screwed up my company. So, and then I have to go back. I'm finding that I am doing more teaching and, aligning them than starting with the implementation. I have to bring them back to basics.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I wrote an article recently. It's on Substack and it's on my website. And by the way, I just got a message that there is a streaming issue with LinkedIn. So bear with that. If you're live with us or you can hear me say this, does seem to be a LinkedIn issue. So I wrote an article recently. It's on Substack. And it really falls in line with that. which is nobody ever goes to their doctor and says, hey, why don't you cut me open and dig around and see what you can find
Yeah.
and then fix it, right? We run
Mhm.
a level of diagnostic medically that to rule out every possible thing that could be wrong before we
Mhm.
go in and do something, right?
Mhm.
And I'm a very visual thinker, and so that really, when I thought of it, it really, was impactful to me.
Mhm.
And so I'll share the link on the thing when we're done. But I think that that's what you're saying, right?
Right.
We're
Yeah.
undergoing something that is transformational, that is going to
Mhm.
impact everyone, right?
Mhm.
And so we're not just going to go and do it because we can. We really want to
Mhm.
understand you said, what is the problem we're trying to solve for?
Mhm.
Why do we need to solve it? What is the value that we're going to get out of solving it? Because not every
Right.
problem can and needs to be solved. And
Exactly.
then what is the approach that we want to take to get there, right? And I think that's where we really, really need
Yeah.
to be mindful going into this.
We- Exactly. That's exactly the truth. People are just so lost and they just don't know where to begin, and they're trying to do it by themselves. It is a hype out there that's going on. I mean, you hear it left and right. It's always on LinkedIn, it's on social media, and they're like, "Oh my God, that sounds wonderful. It'll do this for me and that for me." I said, "You know what? Stop." I asked, I asked the CEOs, 5 questions that I think is important for them to realize if they're ready or not. And I could share those with you if you'd like.
We'll definitely get through them. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
we'll get to them here in a second.
We'll start walking through them. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
So Shira, I want to make sure that did you read the entire LinkedIn issue here? Like, do we have to? But it's still streaming on YouTube, so I see all the check marks there. So I don't
It
know.
is still streaming on YouTube, and they said it's going to keep trying to stream, and it may be a LinkedIn problem. So, Kay, if you are here and can hear us, if you will check on LinkedIn for us and let us know what's going on, that'd be great. But there's nothing I don't know that there's anything we can really do.
Mm-hmm. Just keep on going.
Yeah, exactly. So
like AI, sometimes, technology, that's, you can't
I just had this conversation today. I was talking to a client of mine and I said, one of the things that nobody talks about is what are you going to do when it fails? Because it will, because it does, right? Talk about readiness.
Let me give you an example of how it really failed. It's already failed. It's not failed me. It failed what I thought it was going to give me. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
AI will fail based on how you build it and what outcome you expect of it, right? And people have this big, like Katherine said, it's a hype. It is a hype, but if you use it properly, it isn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a hype because people make it sound like it will solve from the phone being picked up by a bot into transitions to a sale. There's voice sales, tools out there that answers all your questions to get to the sale. There are those technology that's out there that AI has produced, and then from there they sign them up. Like it's almost like they think that no human has to even touch anything, right? And then the sale happens, and then the implementation happens. But at the end of it all, did we understand from start to finish? If you used AI on all of those, did it answer the questions correctly? I mean, how did we even get to that part? What information did it capture for you to execute the deliverable, right? And now, if you go back and let's say you have all that data that it collected, was it truthful? Was it real? Or able to ask additional questions to get to what that means? So this is the thought that people have, right? That AI will be from A to Z, and it isn't. And I always say this is why we have this show, and that's why we talk about the humans being involved, is that the human in the loop is inevitable that way. Yes, you can automate maybe two processes of that, but at some point the human has to get involved. And we created this to make people think that this is what we can do, but it isn't. The people that say that clearly hasn't sat and actually do the human in the loop, and this has this big vision. And people that don't build from their core of what they're practicing, right? That they've built the blood, sweat, and tears on writing their frameworks and tested it, but in governance around it, the higher level critical thinking needs to be there, other than a simple prompt. How do you become a millionaire without touching anything? That's the hype. And then there's the reality of what you're saying. The reality is that people are not paying attention. They just hear the hype. But our role as people that navigate through AI and that use it on a regular basis to educate. It's all about education. Education, lead them to make those decisions properly and make those decisions run. And then how you implement also is another process. So the implementation also has its own structure on how to get there. Are they ready? Do they have the tools? Do they have the people? So there's layers, like to your point, Katherine, you have those different elements. So let's talk about one of the things you said is about security. And actually, and one of the things you mentioned was shadow AI. And I don't think a lot of people understand what shadow AI is, right? So can you give, there's things that we pick up as far as, what we've heard from our guests and what we've heard from ourselves. So talk about shadow AI for us, Katherine. I think people will be very intrigued with that.
Yes, it's a very important issue. For those of you that don't know what shadow AI, it is when the leaders of the company forbid anybody on their team to use AI in their company. It's forbidden. But you always have those shadow AI people in their company using AI right underneath their roof without the leaders knowing. Now, this shadow AI is already widespread. MIT found personal AI use among workers at more than 90% of the companies it surveyed. Another statistic, because people love statistics, 78% of people who use AI at work were bringing their own tools, and 52% were reluctant to admit using AI for their most important tasks. So the question isn't, are people using AI? The question really is, are they using it safely? Right? It has, and it's no, but I have a story behind that because I went to a private networking group a couple days ago in Miami, and I was invited to go and tell them what I do and to do some networking. I sat next to a family law lawyer, and he asked me, what I do in detail and stuff. And he goes, oh, his eyes open up, and he's like, we don't do AI. We are not allowed to have AI in our company because there's so many lawsuits out there. Lawyers and law offices are being sued left and right because they're having leakages going on. And I said, yeah, you're talking about shadow AI. And he's like, oh, I never heard that term. And I said, so you don't use AI at all? And he's like, oh, no. He was very adamant about it. So I said, interesting. I said, so are you 100% sure that you don't have shadow AI in your company? And he's like, oh, yeah. And I said, is it worth $1,000 to give yourself, sanity that that it's not going on in there? He's like, how could you do that? I said, well, I partnered with one of the best cybersecurity guys in the nation, and he could come into your company with all the CEOs knowing, and he will break into your company. Of course, you will know about this. Nobody else will. And he will do the pen test, and he will give you the results to see if you have shadow AI going on in your company. He's like, what? I said, is it worth $1,000 to not have any leakages going on or shadow AI in your company? Because you might be the next one being sued. He looks at me and I said, do you want to arrange something next week? So he's like, there are ways to test it.
Okay.
And
I think it's
anybody that's interested, I could forward you to the cybersecurity guy that does that.
That you have that does it. I think it's so interesting because that's one example of shadow AI. Are people using tools? Now, a lot of IT teams have gotten smart to this. They block sites. So, that's been going on for a very long time. I was doing, when I first got into tech and I was doing implementation, which is a funny story in and of itself, I worked for a school system and they blocked everything because it was a K through 12. And so at the time you couldn't get onto Facebook, you couldn't get onto anything. And there were hours in my day that I had nothing to do. And I was bored out of my mind and there was no sites I could get to. So IT departments are really great about being able to block a lot of the web versions of the things. what he's not going to be able to tell, and this is also what's so critical. This is the first time in history, and this is Daisy and I were just talking about this. This is the first time in technical history where the user, the individual user, has access to a tool that might be better or not in existence in an organization, right?
Mhm.
So when a person went to work for a company, they had the cool tools, right? They had the better Microsoft Office, and we just had whatever crap thing was on our phones or whatever. They had the cool, whatever, all the account, if you care about accounting, which I don't, but all the cool accounting tool, whatever it was, right?
Mhm.
We are now in the end, right? This is now the first time in history that a person is going to come into an organization and they're going to have access to a tool that's before that gets into a company. Okay.
Exactly.
So what you have in that situation is the ability, and again, it depends on the organization and how much they lock down their data, but the ability for someone to do work at home, to do work on their phone. I was coming home from Pilates today. I had an idea for my business. I grabbed my phone. I started talking into Claude because I don't want to forget it, because I forget everything. So that's happening. You could have somebody sitting at their desk talking into their own ChatGPT, their own Claude, their own Gemini, their own Perplexity, their own whatever, and doing work and then transferring IP because they're talking about what they're doing. And that cybersecurity guy is never going to be able to tell. Right? So it's so much bigger. What you're talking about is fantastic. And I think people need to do that. But we also need to be aware that as organizations, that people now have access to tools that didn't exist before. When you worked for a company, you couldn't go home and get on your, Oracle ERP and figure stuff out, right? And so this is where it's becoming very different. And why understanding why AI is so different in terms of transformation makes this different than any other kind that we've had in history. And people are just realizing that, which is crazy.
Yeah. There's a statistic. I follow Peter Diamandis. I love him. Listen to his Moonshot.
Oh, we lost you.
You lost your sound.
We lost your sound for a second. Right after you said you love Peter. No?
Yeah, you're still mute. Somehow your sound went away. Yeah.
No, we've lost your sound.
Lost your sound, but that's okay. Sometimes, and unfortunately, you might have to log out and log back in, Katherine, to make it reset. But don't worry, Shira and I can talk. So if you want to do that, feel free. We got lots of time. We got lots of time.
You're going to try to come back. All right.
No worries. Thank you.
This was a mess. I'm so glad I didn't. None of this was me today. This is so good. I didn't do any of this. You started on time. I did it on time.
Yeah, we still can't hear you, Katherine. So if you want to log in and out, that's fine. Sometimes we have to do that. Yeah, we're good. Okay.
All right. We'll see you in a minute. Catherine. Oh, our LinkedIn still is not going on, and I hope if anyone's on this, and they're not going to see it on LinkedIn, but go to YouTube. We're on YouTube. We'd love to see you. Two people are on the YouTube, which is great. So we'll try it that way.
I don't know if Kay, I haven't checked my phone. So Kay, is there anybody on YouTube?
I see two people actually. I can see two people, but that's okay. We'll keep talking because, we can keep this going. I think, Daisy, I want to take a step back for a second because we got, as always, a little off track of where we were. And I think what's really interesting, you said, you and I joke all the time that we send each other the same videos all the time on TikTok. We're following a lot of the same people and we keep sending each other. And then I get this little banner from TikTok. Oh, you and Daisy did the same thing, whatever. I think what's really interesting, you talked about the fear mongering that's going on. And I think that this is something that, again, we've never experienced anything like this, where all of this kind of crazy conversation is happening. There she is. Can we hear you? Yay, you're back.
Yeah, that's so weird. Technology, this is going to happen. You just got to go with it.
That's right.
Exactly.
All right. So let me let you go back to what you were talking about, because we went down a different path, but you said you love Peter, you follow Peter, and then we lost you.
Yes. So this was mind blowing. He said within the next 4 years, technology is going to grow 40 times. 40 years. 40 years. That's what he said. In 4 years, technology is going to grow 40 years. That's shocking to me. That it's, and I see it every day. There's a new tool, there's new stuff going on. I'm constantly, I mean, I just don't ever stop school because I'm always learning about the newest and the best stuff, because as a consultant, I have to, because
Right.
I have to consult my clients. So I'm always on the newest and the best and what to do. And now with everything becoming agentic, I could see this is going to fly. We're going to see so much stuff in the next 4 years. It's going to blow our minds. So people have got to get on board.
It's
Yeah.
so funny because, again, this is I keep saying this over and over again because we talk about this all the time. I am cautiously optimistic. We also have to be very mindful of this. What I like to say is a house of cards built on the finest crystal in the world, right? This is a really, and I'm not a doom seeker, right? It's just the reality of what we're dealing with here is that we have a handful of companies that are moving money around, billions, if not trillions of dollars that are being moved around. And the AI companies are losing hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in order to pay for this. This is where it gets really scary, right? And so part of the conversation that I'm having today is also, we need to be prepared for the what if, right? We need to think about what if, for example, we know that, and again, I'm not a doom seeker, but the governor of New York just said, we're not going to build any more data centers, right? Because there's a concern. And again, I think this is part of the hype. We're concerned about the water, right? She's running for reelection. She's concerned about the water. So she's going to put that out there. Oh my God, the water, we're not going to build more data centers. Well, that's partially true. It's not entirely true. And what does that mean? Because one of the things that we know, aside from the chips, thank you, NVIDIA, is that we need data centers, right? So that growth that he's talking about, yes, and how are we going to support that growth? How are we going to pay for that growth? Who's going to pay for that growth, right? And so I think that we need to be cautious about that fear of where are we going? What's really going to do? The promise of whatever this is, it's going to cure cancer, it's going to do this, and we're going to have the situations where we're not going to build more data centers, we can't buy more chips. So it's this interesting balance. And I think that at a micro level is where we are with a company that says, I want AI. And you started in the beginning. Why do you want it? Why?
Exactly. Yeah, that's important.
And the story that you talked about with the lawyer, I love, because we talked about this a number of months ago, that aside from the shadowing that's happening, the shadow AI that's happening, it's also that whole thing when the human is not in the loop and they're running AI without ever checking to see what they're producing, which that's where also the failures are coming. This is happening in companies all over the place, right? We're thinking, oh, this is great. I'm going to run my AI. I'm going to save all this time. I'm going to fire all the people. It's all going to be great. And then you got garbage. Because I know for me personally, I said to Daisy earlier, I'm like, Claude is producing a bunch of crap this week. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Claude got stupid all of a sudden, right? Same model, got really lazy this week. And I would write to Claude, what the is wrong with you? Why did you get so stupid today? Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Like a child.
It is evolving on its own and also on the usage, right? And so we have to be really careful. AI is just a tool. AI is a word that is plugged into the first of something, and it isn't. It isn't. It is the human needs to make that decision. What I built, what you built, and what you're doing is based on your input.
Exactly. You are the orchestrator.
AI gets it to the next level of thinking because our brain cannot produce that much thinking, and we need to do research to validate that roadmap that we're trying to make, or whatever the process or the implementation, whatever it is we're using AI for, whether it's to cook, something new, a new recipe that you add a couple of ingredients, what will that make you? It's more than AI. There are tools out there. Google Lab itself has so many tools that people haven't even used, and they're already using Fable, and they don't even know how to prompt Fable and go, oh, Fable is so cool. It's so fast. It's so powerful. Oh,
Mhm.
create a spreadsheet for me that calculates this. That's what people use Fable for. The rest of the rest of the world is not even touched. We got to remember that we are, when we say a bubble within ourselves that no AI, we are in our own bubble. We created this own bubble for ourselves. Think about the rest of the world. Some places in Africa don't even have internet.
It's true.
Yeah.
Not
And,
just
and
Africa,
even if they do,
lots of
they're
don't
still
have
using Google. And when they open Google, when Google announced that it is now AI native, right? They go, oh, how does this work? Like I haven't even done, I don't even know what an SEO is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to be in reality that who our audiences are and who we're really selling to. Shira and
Mhm.
I come from a corporate world of, it's almost political, right? And then they want to be the FOMO of the corporations. That's why the first adapters on the first year, they failed right now. And they're admitting that
Yeah.
they went too fast without really understanding what it was. And that we
Mhm.
don't know what they've applied AI to, but I'm gonna guess the way applied AI to is thinking that they somehow automated something to get rid of the humans to justify that cost. Here, we talked about this.
Oh,
The
yeah.
cost now doesn't match. Humans are now cheaper to bring in than the tokens that the companies are using. And a lot of layers, not just for corporations. We talk about our guests that did a lot of those governance setting for a lot of those corporations. It's more that you need now vendors to help you in those stages of AI. Not one consulting company, not even Deloitte and Touche can
Mhm.
handle a full implementation. So nonetheless, us as regular consultants, we have to be specialized in what we're recommending them, because otherwise you're just another person down the street that's selling. You can learn AI and be a millionaire in 30 days. So we have to put reality in front of them. So anyway, I go on a tangent about this because I don't like when people don't check their work and they just think that copy paste. All right, there you go, customer. And
Yeah.
then it's not that, because I rely on my credibility and I rely on making sure that humans are getting what they need. And we're also being part of that, being responsible on how we teach it and how we feed our AI, right? Because it all comes from one place, us humans. This only expands because we're using it. This only grows because we're using it. And to your point, Catherine, if you are in this, you cannot stop learning. Sure, I
Mhm.
think expand on that a little bit more. Like, if you stop learning, AI is not going to continue. And that's one of her articles that she has
Yeah.
written.
Yeah. But I think that it starts with educating. It starts with ground zero. It starts with letting them know that it's not AI by itself. AI assisted work.
Yeah.
You are assisting the AI. AI cannot go from point A to point B, without your direction, without you
Mhm.
writing the prompts. They'll always be, as of now, human in the loop. Human in the loop is very important, and you have to let your clients know that even though you have implementation, you still have to watch it.
Yeah. No
You
question.
It's just educating them, and as a consultant, I make sure that things are running well. That's why you need the 90 days once you implement to make sure that it's running okay, that the workflows are going okay. You can't just implement it and just go, because the AI will work, but what about the rest of the workflows to get to your ultimate, where they want to be? And just letting them know up front, once you start implementation, you have to watch it. You have to make sure that it's running properly every 90 days or 90 days. Check and see, if it's running efficiently the way you want it to. Something new came out, you got to tweak your system. There's right now, there always has to be a human in the loop. People can't just let it go.
So
No, it's
quality assurance of implementation is really critical. And then the
Yeah.
maintenance afterwards is really, I always dive into that. And so the Shira, once you set a foundation, the maintenance of it, and like same thing as is we learn AI, humans, we need to continue to learn it. If we are adapting it for the clients or helping clients adopt it, we have to also be responsible and telling them how to continue to use it, right? And how to guide them in that respect. So it's more than just selling the first foot in the door. Let me do a discovery, let me do implementation. How are you going to keep them going once that's done? So
Right.
it's to it than that. So Shira,
Yeah.
I think we're at that time when we start talking about our inside outside story.
I know. So you set us up, Katherine, earlier, which is Daisy and I were smiling ear to ear when you talked a little bit about. I don't think you knew what we were going to talk about today, which is great, because we do our outside story in. And Daisy, if you will introduce it, we will get started with kind of where this lives in the real world. Because although we are talking about real world stuff, we try to kind of show people really, really great examples of what we're talking about as a proof point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So every week we bring in an inside outside story, what's happening in the real world out there that affects both inside and outside. And so Katherine has already made a point on that one. So you already want to read the story?
Yeah. So you mentioned the MITs, the MIT statistics and their 2025 study, which is interesting, right? Because we're at 2026, so they're already giving us really good data, maybe because they have great AI. No, I'm just kidding. Looked over 300 corporate implementations, AI implementations, and found that 95% of generative AI pilots delivered no measurable return. Now, this is not knocking them, right? We're all in this. We're trying it out. We're figuring it out, but no measurable return. And I have some issues on what they're measuring, but that's a whole other point. And the part that lands for us is the researchers said it wasn't the models, right? It was how the organizations adopted them. People, process, readiness. It wasn't about the tech. And that's the thing that's so critical here. Unlike when we look at other kinds of technical implementations, that's where this is so different now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what comes up? So now the layer in what's happening underneath, right? So around 6 in 10 employees admit they're already using AI tools. Their boss never approved. Okay. Now, Gartner shadow AI as high as 68%. So everybody's point, right? So the official rollout stalled at 95% failure. Think about that number. It shadows at 68%. It failed at 95% when I adopted it. 6 out of 10 employees are doing the shadow AI. That's more than 50%. While the real adoption is happening in the dark, off the record, just like you said, Shira, off on their phones, with no aligned on what's it for.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's it. And that's what I call embedded versus embodied at full scale, right? The company installed the tool, they announced the transformation, party time. What is embodied was a stalled pilot and a workforce quietly improvising on its own. The pilot hit, the press release ran. What was the return on intention? The gap wasn't understood and wasn't cleared. Right. So now they're saying, where does that company sit in this process? And what did the machine really do for it? Right. Where was that value? And that's the thing, right? That's the problem that we're seeing.
Yeah. I'd like to comment on this as well.
Yeah. We want to turn it over to you.
Yeah. So, the number doesn't tell me AI is broken. I think it tells me the handoff is broken. Companies are confusing installation with transformation. So before implementation, align the outcome, the owners, the people, the guardrails, the measure of success. That's what they have to align before implementation. That's so important.
Yeah, it's definitely a starting point. There's no question. And I think what's so interesting is that we're seeing, I don't have a problem with these, especially early adopters, right? I don't have a problem with pilots failing. That's what pilots are for. I don't have a problem with giving it a shot. I love the idea of let's try and see what happens, right? What's the worst thing that can happen if? Let's see where this goes. I think you're absolutely right. It isn't about the technology. Technology works, right? Most of the time, not today with LinkedIn, but it normally works. But if we don't know, to your point, we don't know why we're doing it. We don't know what we're trying to achieve. We don't know what our expected outcomes are, right? Then we don't know what to measure. And so this is where I'm really struggling with a lot of the technology that I'm actually seeing out there these days, which is interesting, right? Tools, people, and listen, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. If somebody has a great idea and they're going to hawk something and sell something and make a lot of money and it doesn't have value, good on them, right? That's what capitalism is all about. But the question of tools that are out there, and I want people that are listening to be really clear on this, If somebody tells you they're going to measure the value of the tool in the organization, so I'm going to tell you how much money you're saving because you put in AI. I want to know how you're doing that. I want to really clear, because I build business cases for a living. I'm a value engineer. I know how to say, this is what it's costing you today. This is where you're going to get your return, both in hard and soft dollars. And there is statistical data that shows when certain solutions are. But if you're going to tell me, and we saw this, again, Daisy, you brought up this in the very beginning, you're going to fire all your people. It'll be great. You're going to save so much money. You're not going to have all your people. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, why is my AI costing 3 times what every person cost? Right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to say, I created an agentic agent, is that redundant? I created an agent that is doing the task, right? And it's saving me 5 hours a week. Okay, great. It's saving you 5 hours a week from da-da-da, whatever that is. Show me what you're doing with those 5 hours that's bringing value.
Mm-hmm.
Just cutting 5 hours from your work. Are you on TikTok for 5 hours? Are you going to the mall? Like what have you delivered by taking away those 5 hours? That's the conversation that nobody's having.
Yeah.
Right. And that to me is a big, big problem. That to me says, wait a second. Where are we in this? And that's my thought process.
And so, Chira, when you say somebody is trying to sell a SaaS, right, to measure your usage of AI, my sarcastic answer is like, well, I can click a button and tell them how much I use and how much tokens and percentage. And, if your AI actually breaks down the projects and measures the tokens through that, there is one. Perplexity does that. And some tools don't do that, right? You just basically see you're running out of credits, or all of a sudden it's not moving because you run out of credits, not knowing if you pick the higher model to just do regular thinking. So now the next layer that humans have to be very conscientious about is the usage token, because nobody's going to be able to afford. I am noticing that, and I have to use AI for every strategies that I do too. That's my second brain, right? It's not, there's no option for me. So I'm already at the highest plan at $200 a month, and I'm already topped up 4 times today at 25, slash, and it's just literally, I have another 10 days, right? And I've already topped up like $100 on my AI, because, all these additional features and agentic thing that it does for you now eats up that credit. And so the cost of doing business, not just the cost, is now higher. So this is where people now are stepping back. The humans are better off coming back in and doing the work. And because what we built really wasn't built on what that human was actually doing, we just kind of guessed and got rid of them. And now let's bring them back to get more context, right, to what they actually were doing, so that this AI that we built when we first got rid of you is functioning properly. This is where now people are costing them money, double basically what they're doing. And then on top of that, as they bring the humans in, let's reduce that AI usage, because now the human is back. And so, this is where the struggle is, not just for corporations, but as small businesses, as SMBs, really, you remember, however you measure SMB is. Even personally, we have to assess our own workflows and how we then now have to get quotes to our clients. And, it's going to cost you now more, because you think that I can snap of a finger, build you a process and make it be seen. It isn't. There is, for everything that we do, everything that Katherine does, everything that Shira does, every discovery and every we work with, it's not one switch of a finger that, we give it to them in a week and then implement, right? It's a whole lot of conversation with a lot of humans, not the machine.
Yeah. Well, and Katherine, I know you want to jump in, and I'm going to give you the stage for this. I just want to say this. We say it every time. We love AI. We are not anti-AI. We are in the business of AI. We love AI. We promote AI. We wanted people to use AI, right? And I will give you the stage to respond.
I'm just thinking about, you guys bring excellent points to this, and it's absolutely right, because I think we're all going through that. And I think for me, it comes down to time management and budgets. If I don't have the budget to spend $200 on that, I'm not going to use it. You know what I mean? So it's really the budget that I have and the time management. If I need to be like, for instance, you know, my mom after 5 o'clock, her caretaker leaves, so she's mine after that. I have to plan that, like everything is planning, and I need to be done with certain things. So, you know, prioritize and time management. And if I don't finish during the week, I'll be working on the weekends. You know,
Right.
and budgeting. I can't buy another tool because I'm maxed out. And today I'm locked out of Claude because I don't have enough credits. So I hopped over to ChatGPT. When I can't do that, you know, so you got to know what your budget is too on that.
Well, and I think, you know, that kind of loops back to what we talked about in the beginning, this whole kind of this deck of cards that I talk about. I just had this happen to me yesterday. I, you know, have all the tools, right? I use them all for different things. I too need to be aware of what's out there and what's available and what are we talking about. And so I had gone to a higher level of ChatGPT at a workspace level because I was building some GPTs and doing some things that I wanted to be public. And so I was paying, I think it was, I don't know how much per month or whatever it was. And I thought, I'm not really using this now. I found other tools that I like better. Let me go back to $20 a month or $50 or whatever it is. And I'll go back to a lower, because it's not really money well spent.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And then I went back. And then all of a sudden, all my chats were gone. And I couldn't get them. Yeah. And I went on to get help. And it said, oh, no, you can't have them. Now, I went from personal to workspace back to personal. So I built most of this stuff when it was personal. Everything was gone. And they said, no, you have to go back to workspace. We're not giving it to you.
Oh, no.
And I thought, A, you son of a bitch. And B, fine, I'll go get it. And then I'll download it. And then, and, you know, but and I get it. That's their business model. They're in business to make money. Okay, fine. But these are the kinds of things, that was a mistake that I made because I didn't check. I didn't really see what was going to happen. So, and that's at an individual level or a small business level, right? And so I think you're right. Like, there's so much, it's overwhelming. It's so, and for companies, one of the things, I'm talking to a couple of clients right now who are all Microsoft shops, right? Or Microsoft. And so they have Copilot. They want to use, we're not going to be sponsored by Microsoft, I guess. Well, I guess Microsoft sponsored podcast. And we'll find somebody else. But anyway, so I digress. So so if they're a Microsoft shop, they have tools, right? They want to leverage the tools that they're already paying for, that are already there. So that's Copilot, and they're, you know, expanding. So rightfully so. But like I said earlier, if I'm an employee and I'm using Claude at home or Perplexity at home or whatever, that's my comfort level, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's also part of the dynamic that companies are dealing with right now, which is people are then complaining, saying, I don't like this. I like what I have, because they're doing the same sort of things. And that's another challenge when it comes to the human in the room, right? And so there's so many aspects of this that we're kind of figuring it out as we go along, because it's fast and we're not ready. We didn't know, we didn't plan for this. And so I think it's fascinating. And I think that, you know, all three of us are in a place where we can help companies do it better. We can help them really understand and make better decisions. And, you know, change is like anything else, right? I always say it's, you know, when we talk to our girlfriends about our boyfriends and our husbands or our girlfriends or our kids or whatever it is that we talk to them about, it's always so much easier to solve somebody else's problem, right? Yes. Do you ever notice how, you know, when my girlfriends call me and they go, and I go, well, here's how easy it is to solve that, because it's not mine, right? Yeah. That's human nature. And we see things very differently when we're not in it. And that's why I think people like us are so important, because, and Daisy and you and I do this every day. We just did this yesterday, right? I went to Daisy and I said, oh my God, Daisy, you said, I think it was on last week's podcast, you're like, every business needs to have what is it, a Google business, whatever. Google business profile, yeah. Yeah, good. And so Daisy, the other one, Daisy, you said on the podcast, I need it. And I'm like, she's like, no, you don't. You don't need it. Calm down. You're fine. It's not like, so because I spent an hour and a half. What did I spend, Daisy? An hour and a half. I need a good Google business. No, you don't. Right. So this is where I think this is where it's so important that companies understand that you can have the best IT teams and you can have the best CIO, and I want them to have the best people. And they need to talk to somebody else as well. Those of us who are in this space, doing this every day, talking to other companies, talking to other users, understanding where the challenges lie so that we can help them make the best decisions and see what they're not going to see and ask the questions that they're not necessarily asking, which is the critical part.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with that. That's great that you mentioned that. Every company is individual, and it's not cookie cutter, So what's important to me isn't important to you, Cher, or what's important to you in your business, Daisy. We all have our priorities and what we're working on. So that's why with the leaders, you got to find out what is your biggest problem in your company. Right. And let's dissect it. Let's work it. Just and start with the one, start with the magical one, the one problem that they have, the one person that they're gonna assign to bring it to fruition, and then their team that's gonna help them with the AI and the workflow, and then the safety, putting up the guardrails, then the measure of success, giving it the 90 days. But doing everything at once, like everybody wants to do everything at once. They could do whatever they want, but it's going to be, it all works synergistically together. And I think that if they're really not sure, it's better to start slow and start with one.
Right. The power of one. I love that expression.
Nice segue. Go ahead, Shira. I think you were.
We are over time, even though probably nobody saw it because we're not on LinkedIn, but we'll see what happens. But, we'll share this with everybody, so it'll be fine. We always close the hour-ish, with some action items because we want to give people tangible takeaways, right? We've given lots of data today and lots of information, but we also want to give really tangible takeaways, a simple action that everyone can do in the coming week. And we love, if possible, for people to let us know what they did, if they did it, and what the response is. So mine is pretty simple, right? Before your next AI decision, ask whether the people who have to live it can actually embody it. Are they ready? Because readiness is a number that you can know in advance, right? We've talked about this, and it is not the thing that you want to find at the end, right? That is not the thing that you want to do at the end of all of this. You want to know that at the beginning. Why is it doing that little thing? I don't like that. So just ask, right? Ask that one simple question. Are we ready? Let's take that first step.
Absolutely.
Daisy, what is yours?
So for mine, it's always going to be about let's ask AI about something. So ask your AI assistant, LLM, whatever you call that machine that box that helps you get the answers. So ask what your company does, right? And I just ask what it does and then when you get the answers, is it worth buying from your company? Is AI, saying what it really does versus what you're living in, right? So those are that's what we look at. That's what I look at as the gaps. So is AI telling what your company really does, and are you going to buy from it?
I love that. Katherine, do you have one for us? I know we're putting you on the spot.
I sure do. Yes,
okay.
I sure do. My little tidbit is if you want to get clear before you get technical, please DM me the word clarity, so we could have our one-on-one call, and I would love to help you find your first step. And the other one is I would love to send them my 5-question AI readiness check questions if you can't answer yes to all of these, it's time to take a step back and give me a call.
Well, this is how they can reach you. So we want to be able to let people reach you via LinkedIn. I think is a great place to start, even though it's not working today. And scan the QR code and as you said, DM you or message you or reach out to you and connect with you so they can do that. It would be great.
Yeah, and follow me because every week, a couple times during the week, I do post on this as well, and I give out great information for you to learn on.
Fantastic. I love that. Well, we are so over. Daisy, I just want to make sure that as I put up our contact details as well, you can say what you want to tell us.
Well, thank you for joining us once again. And so right on your screen, if you get in from YouTube, this is how you can reach us from all our streaming platforms and our websites. Shira and I do this every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern. We still have our Glasshouse cohort. We have put it on pause, and actually just a little countdown that we have our season last season episode, ending episode for one more week. Just a heads up, so don't miss the last episode of the season, and then we'll be
two more.
Oh, but two more tomorrow. Okay, sorry, two more. My apologies. But just reach out to us on all the platforms that we're at, and or come see us every week. That'd be super.
Yeah, we really do want to hear from you. We would love you to be on our show if you are interested and want to talk about this or any other topic about the inside or the outside of what's going on in the business world today. It does not have to only be about AI. It can be about other things as well. Although we get very passionate about AI. Thank you so much for joining us, for being here with us. We so appreciate it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was this your very first podcast?
Yes. I had done one before, but this is the first one like this. Yes, my first big podcast. And I'm so excited. Thank you, Shara. Thank you so much, Daisy, for inviting me. I had fun. It was great.
Good. And you were
that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for putting up with all of the crazy technical stuff. And I can honestly say I'm thrilled it wasn't on me. And we are out. Have a wonderful week, everyone. We'll see you next time.